Hello, people of the world. How would you feel if your country was taken over by the United States of America? Some people might like that, some people might not, but either way, it might become a reality soon. So allow me to explain myself. So for a couple of months now, President Trump has teased the idea of the United States taking over certain countries and territories. This would include Canada, Mexico, Greenland, the Gaza Strip, and the Panama Canal. When you hear about all that, you have to ask yourself, what does that mean for me if I'm living in one of those countries or territories? How would that affect all those people over there as well? And what would it mean for us? So why don't we talk about that, shall we? So let's talk about money.
Hello, I like money.
So according to these online reports, the United States of America has about $269 trillion. That's a lot of damn money if you ask me. Pretty much a lot. And then there's Canada, which has $2.21 trillion. Just a little bit. And then there's Mexico, which has about $1.8 trillion in money. Just a bit short. And then we get to Greenland and Gaza. So Greenland has about around 30 to 70 billion dollars. And then Gaza is worth almost $19 billion. So when you put that all together, that makes about almost $300 trillion in GDP. That's a lot of damn money. So with all that money that would be all in our empire, that would make us one of the most richest countries or empires in the entire world. It would definitely have to make us in the top 5. It's 300 trillion GDP. It's a pretty big number. There's a lot to that. It can also help out with economic issues within the empire as well. The fact that we have a lot of money. Alright, now let's talk about territories and states. So in case you don't know, America does rule over some countries and states, or some other territories. Currently, right now, we rule over Puerto Rico, Guam, and Samoa. They're not states, but they are U.S. territories. And the ones that have become states are places like Alaska and Hawaii. So here's the thing. If Canada were to become a state of America, it would have to be divided into other states. It can't just all of Canada just be one state. It would have to be divided. Regions like Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, Quebec, all those regions would become their own states in the empire. They would all have their own state governments and their own governors to rule over them. I guess you could say the same thing about Nunavut, but I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how it works due to the way how it is over there. So that would make it about at least 56 to 57 states in total of our empire. And I don't know, I guess you could probably do the same thing about Mexico, but that's something I have to think about another time. I just been mostly thinking about these Canadian provinces that could possibly become states. I'm not exactly sure what Trump's plan is for that. I don't know if he'll make the whole place a state or just make the whole provinces their own states. I wish someone would question him about that. Maybe one day, we'll see. So all that would happen with the territories and states. Let's talk about military power. According to these online reports, the United States has 2.86 million soldiers. This includes all the soldiers in the Army, the Marines, the Navy, all those guys. Altogether, that's 2.86 million soldiers. That's a lot of damn soldiers. That's a lot of people that you can have at your command. But it's a really big number compared to Canada and Mexico. Because according to online reports, Canada only has about 68,000 soldiers. Unless someone can correct me on that, I think that's only how much they have. I believe Trump did say that it had a small military as well. I think Canada should increase the military power. They're going to need some way to defend themselves. I don't think 68,000 soldiers will be enough. They're going to need more people. And then there's Mexico, which has 412,000 soldiers. It's bigger than Canada, but it's still short enough. They should probably try to increase it once it's not filled with cartel people. So putting all of that together, that would be a total of 2,566,000 soldiers. The whole empire would have about 2.5 million soldiers. And it's a lot of people when you think about it. So that would, it makes you wonder if that would make us stand an even bigger chance against other alliances such as NATO or anything like that. So there's that. Alright, next up is the citizens. So according to online reports, the United States has 346 million citizens. I'm not sure if that includes the criminal invaders, but since I'm feeling kind of generous, we'll include them. So that's 346 million citizens. And then there's Canada, which has 41 million citizens, a little bit lower. Mexico has 131 million citizens. And then there's Greenland. So here's what you need to know about Greenland. All the people who live in Greenland, which will be 56,000 people, that would be all up in the south, the southern tip, or whatever it's called. All that land that's all up in the north, it's nothing but ice and snow. I'm pretty sure nobody really lives there. All the people in Greenland are all living in the south, where it's the most habitable. And then there's Gaza, which is reported to have 2.1 million citizens, the city of Gaza. And then there's Puerto Rico, which has about 3 million citizens. Guam has 168,000 citizens. And Samoa has 219,000 citizens. So when you put all of that together, you get a total amount of 525 million citizens. That's half of 1 billion citizens. That would basically mean that we would become one of the most populated empires of the whole world, and possibly of all time. I'm not really sure if that beats the Roman Empire, but it's still a big number. That's a lot of damn people. And the next up is another thing I need to mention is that if we were to take back control of the Panama Canal, that would also generate revenue of like billions of US dollars. And when you add that to the GDP, that makes us even richer. So you got all this money that we'll have, all this territory, all these military soldiers, and all these citizens together. It would make us a very huge, gigantic empire. A lot of people and a lot of strength and a lot of money. So let's talk about this a little bit. So I'm not exactly sure if Denmark is going to be okay with handing Greenland over to the US. I also saw a report where Germany and NATO, they basically have begun to send soldiers to Greenland because of Trump teasing the idea of Greenland taken over by the US. But I find that funny because it's funny how they think they can scare Trump. I'm pretty sure Trump is not scared of NATO at all. So you got all that going on, so that would create some type of hostile relation with NATO, kind of. And I think you could say the same thing about Gaza, because the Gaza Strip has been fought over by the Israelis and the Palestinians. And that war has been going on for the longest time ever. So when Trump said that the US would take control of the Gaza Strip, he said that he would make a city where he would rebuild the place and make it have peaceful citizens and all that. But it makes you wonder, how long will Gaza be controlled by the US?
America, Russia, Spain and Greece won't share the sand pit. Holland is being bossy. You're the bossy one.
That is enough. Is this how you think the countries of the world behave?
Don't they?
Of course not.
Are they going to be able to do it for the longest time ever? Or would they eventually have to give it up? Because Israel and Palestine, like I said, they've been fighting over it for the longest time ever. So I find it hard to believe that they're just going to allow the US to take control of it. Since they can't behave, we're basically going to take their toys away. But like I said, I'm not really sure if it's going to go so well with all those people in the Middle East. So what we have here is the American Empire expanding into something even bigger. We would take control over basically all of North America, and we would have control of the Panama Canal, which would generate a lot of money, and we would own a little piece of land over in the Middle East. So there's a lot of pros and cons to this. I guess you could say there's pros to it, as in it's really cool how all these people will be able to live the American life, but there's also cons to it, and I'll give you some examples. There's a lot of fentanyl that comes from the Canadian border. And fentanyl is known for killing people. It's a huge problem here in America. So if Canada were to become part of the US, that would become an even bigger problem with all those drugs coming in through. It would create bigger problems. And then there's Mexico, which is basically ruled by all those cartels. I mean, they're literally everywhere. There's cartels all over that country, and they've taken over every industry. You can't be a billionaire in Mexico without being connected to cartels. It's literally impossible. So if Mexico were to become part of the US, Mexico's problems would become our problems. As in, the cartels would become our problems. They would prove a huge threat to everyone's security, and that's something that should be addressed eventually. There's Greenland. Greenland has some good resources over there as well, and there's not that much military power over there. So I still feel kind of complex about that decision. And like I said before, the whole Gaza name with those two countries fighting over each other, it's gonna be pretty crazy over there. It's gonna be pretty intense. Same stuff will go on with Puerto Rico and Guam and Samoa. That's basically how I would imagine what would happen if America expanded the empire. Let me know what you guys think about this idea. Do you think America should take over these regions and countries and all that? What would be the pros and cons to it? Could it possibly bring peace? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.